Hello there everybody and welcome back to SOMA. In the last video we traversed through the abyss and we made it to Tau. So far it seems abandoned. We have a big friendly pressured door here. So let's go ahead and press the buttons. I'm going to turn off my flashlight before I enter. And I'm going to show you the quick way to get past this part. So you can see the monster there in the background. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to very, very quickly run straight all the way down the hall and to the left. And we can see that there is another pressurized door. And if you simply follow that very straight kind of L-shaped path, you can open up the door and you can escape from the monster. Now keep in mind that opening this door does take a bit of time and he may catch up to you before that time comes if you're playing on regular game mode, not in safe mode. And then from there you would just quickly beeline it, go straight for this door, go up the ladder, and you would be out of here. Now because we're in safe mode, our Mr. Friendly Tentacle Monster face is gonna follow us around. There's a couple of things to look at in this area, but honestly, if you're playing in regular mode and you're having troubles with this area, that is the best thing to do. You're really not going to miss out on much. This is the laboratory area, and again, not really anything much for us to see in here. There's a bit of a note here. This was probably done by Ross, if I had to guess, just talking about the WoW and the structured gel. Talking about poisoning the WoW and forcing it to kill itself. And then, of course, Ross talking about reaching Omicron. So just a little bit more on that in this lab, but other than that, there's really nothing in here. But you can lock yourself in this room and hide from this guy while this door is opening if you want. You can try and kind of crouch and position yourself behind the table and try and go around him when that door opens if you'd like. And I think the only other room that's really worth looking at, if you want to look, is the control room here. I didn't mean to turn off the light, I meant to close the door. And in this room you have another door. So this is another really good way to get around this monster if you're having troubles with him, is to lock him in here. Because he can open doors, so if you come in here, you can close the door behind you, trap him in, close this door, and then run like hell, if you need to. There's a healing spot there, which you may need if you've been knocked down by him. We can have a look at this computer if we want to. Not a whole lot interesting in here. Interestingly enough, if we try to call the infirmary, it's actually online. Holy crap. Alright.
Anyone there?
Not in the mood to talk to robots. No offense.
Could that be another robot, perhaps? I mean, what's the chance that it's going to be a human? It's probably just a robot who doesn't think it's a robot, as usual. But maybe we could find a friendly robot instead of this guy. And I forgot to comment on this guy's design. It's pretty cool. Obviously, this is the guy that took off with the power suit. He's got really, really creepy looking tentacle face, and if you're playing in regular mode, he'll grab you, and you can see really up close those tentacles, and it's really, really, really freaky. And those are really the only 2 rooms down here worth looking in. So like I said, really not worth looking if you're in a hurry and that guy is giving you a really hard time. And the reason I said to keep these doors open was because you can lure this guy out. I don't think he'll come out here in safe mode. But I think when you're playing regularly, from what I remember, you can lure this guy out here. And this creates a really long area for him to have to run through. So if you keep running through here and closing doors... Oh, he is coming out. And he chases after you. You know, you can kind of theoretically trap him and slow him down. And you could then kind of run behind him and then go to your door. So there's a lot of really clever ways to sort of outsmart this guy and outrun him, but once he catches sight of you, he is very, very fast, so you have to be careful. He will knock you down with 1 hit, which will drain like half of your health, and then if he catches you again, he'll kill you. So 2 hits to kill you. And I don't know if there's any other sort of recommendations I have for this guy. Obviously he's blind. He can't see light, but he's sensitive to sound. So again, throwing items, opening and closing doors, he'll hear. He can open and close doors. But the interesting thing about this monster, actually, that I didn't realize the first time I played, was that he actually will stop and pause if you look at him. Most enemies in the game don't react well when you look at them. They kind of almost see you, and it kind of gives your position away. But with this guy, if he's chasing you, you can actually look straight at him, slowly back away, and start running. It doesn't last for very long, so you have to be careful, because if you stare at him for too long, he'll catch you. But it almost kind of like dazes and confuses him, which is kind of cool. And that's pretty much the last monster in SOMA. Kind of sad. I mean, you know, I kind of enjoy the monsters scattered throughout the game. There weren't too many. They weren't too difficult to get through even while playing normally. And I really enjoyed the designs of all the monsters. I thought that was quite cool. So he's kind of the last one. He doesn't actually chase us throughout Tau. I guess because he can't use ladders. Once you're up here, you're safe. Once you're on the ladder, you're golden. So he's just going to roam around the beginning of Tau there. And then as we drop down that ladder, we'll go into the living quarters. And we can open all of these doors here and get a little bit more story. Yeah, I know. Interestingly enough, Johann Ross's room is locked, and he has the Carthage Industries sticker on his door. I thought it was supposed to be kind of secret that he was working for Carthage. Like, I thought it was kind of a secret that him and Julia and Mark were all working for Carthage, but apparently not. So yeah, Ross will kind of give you shit and tell you like, hey man, we gotta move it, we got shit to do, but you can take as much time as you want. Like I said, you're safe now. There's absolutely nothing that can harm you. So what we are going to want to do is we're going to want to visit Dispatch first. Move that chair out of the way so I can get to that computer. There's a document here. Post-impact notes, January 12th, minor structural damage, radio knocked out. January 17th, communications recovered. Omicron and the rest of Pathos 2 are all right. April 3rd, cross-site radio failing. The Lumar probes keep losing the link. And we've seen that throughout the game when talking to dispatchers, or rather, hearing dispatchers like Strasky try to talk to people, but they're talking about the busted Lumar probes. Urgent fix needed. Tau can't retrieve the climber until the link is working. April 11th. Visited by Wolchek, Dahl, and Holland. System of bi-weekly visits established until communications are back at 100%. September 13th. Evacuation of Tau ordered. We're all leaving for Omicron. September 15th. Swarmed by monsters and no radio. We're fucked. So I guess that's what they were meaning earlier on when we read the note about the evacuation of Tau failing. They weren't able to get up on the climber and escape, which is really tragic. And it's also interesting to actually see how the impact affected everybody down here on Pathos 2, because we haven't really seen a lot of that up to now, to really see how the impact on Earth would have affected them all the way down here at the bottom of the ocean. So again, a lot of transmission options here, but we can't call any of these places. And there's also links to the surface, but of course the surface is wiped out, so that's completely pointless. There's no point in trying to call anybody. We have some comm logs here. We can actually see that Herber was the last person to access the comm, which makes me think that she was probably one of the last people alive. I think that probably Omicron were some of the people that probably lasted the longest. If we want to, we can unlock the infirmary, which you'll definitely want to do. And we can also try to unlock Johan's room. Now, if we try once, it won't let us. But if we try again, he'll put in the code for us. Thanks, Ross. That's really nice of you. And we can now access every single room in Tau. And you can also see the people who worked here as well. You can see, obviously, Jin and Steve worked here. We found Steve's corpse earlier when we were exiting the climber, and Jin, Yoshida, was that monster that we just ran into. Vic O'Clair worked here, Johan Ross, obviously. You had these two ladies sharing a bunk, and then this dispatch center belonged to a lady named Abo, or maybe a man. Who knows? But either way, not a lot of staff here at Tau. Very, very small area, especially when you compare it to Theta. So, Phi status, let's see. The tunnels are unstable. The launch site is okay, mission control is okay, and the assembler is okay. Site fully operational. The Omega space gun, alright, look at that. It looks like it's operational, which is good if we're going to be using that to launch the Ark. And we also get a nice little diagram of how it works and a little bit of information on it. Again, not necessary to come in here, but if you want to snoop around in Johan's room, which I highly suggest that you do, you definitely want to come in here. Alright, let's snoop around your room, buddy. I don't think I can turn this around. Oh, actually, hold on. No, I can't. I wanted to kind of get a better look at this to see what it is, but I think it's just a bunch of scribblings about the WoW, which is usually what Ross is busy talking about. So a lot of this stuff I'm looking at right now doesn't really hold any sort of significance. It's mostly just his writings and ramblings and research and stuff like that. This is a map. Now I think this is actually similar to a map that we saw in Mark's room. And this would probably be the spread of the WoW. Seeing some diagrams here. This is a drawing of the WoW, similar to the one that we found back at Omicron. Some pictures with some illegible writing on it. But again, this is all related to the WoW. This is all just his research, probably, that he saw. Because you got to remember that he was probably the only person, well, one of the only people to actually know that Alpha existed, and to also probably be head-to-head with the WoW. Because I think even though Mark and Julia knew about Alpha and were kind of employed by the same people that Johann Ross was, they didn't live down here at Tau. He did. So he would have spent the most time with WoW than anybody else. So you can see obviously that he became really, really kind of obsessed by this. But the really good juicy bits are his journals and his recordings here. So let's start with the journals. So September 13th, 2103, I was hoping to see Omicron today. The evacuation ordered by the people at Theta was a gift, an excuse to leave Alpha and abandon the WoW. As the storm cleared, we were swarmed by monsters at the WoW head, facilitated. We were ambushed and forced back towards Tau. Glasser, Kochi, and I don't know how to pronounce that. Yeah, Glasser, Kochi, and I survived. Eau Claire is in the infirmary, but it doesn't look good. So yeah, that was the evacuation from Tau that failed, I'm gonna guess. Oh wow, that's quite a jump in audio logs from September to November. Kochi made a run for it to check observation for anything resembling food. Going outside is beyond dangerous. It's like going to buy cigarettes in a hurricane. She came back and she had crumbs with her. We all knew it was empty. I think she just wanted a chance to die without carrying the responsibility of taking it herself. So, very dire circumstances down here at Tau, obviously. Especially because after the rescue, I do believe that people thought that they had died or that they were already dead. December 25th, people from the plateau showed up. It was a group of engineers from Theta telling us that they wanted to use the Omega Space Gun to launch something called the Ark. It's an artificial world that carries brain scans made from people working at Pathos 2. The idea is silly, but endearing. We all agreed to do a scan so we could take part in this afterlife. So I don't know whether or not they were scanned, but it's kind of comforting to me to know that at least these people had a chance to make it onto the Ark, you know? 26th of December, some of the engineers returned from Phi. Apparently they postponed the Ark launch. They were all in a very foul mood and difficult to get any straight answers from, except for one very important thing. They all wished to remain at Tau to figure this Ark business out, but they had scheduled for the climber to pick them up tomorrow. Someone would need to catch that climber to alert Omicron to what was happening. Luckily, Glasser and I were able to take on this mission. I will finally get to warn Dahl and Sarong about the critical situation at Site Alpha. Wow, yeah, so obviously we saw what became of that, didn't we? They found him unconscious in the climber. He was whisked away to Omicron for observation, and then the WoW was focused on repairing his body and turned him into what he is now. Ugh, I really want to get to the recordings, but the video is getting really long. Now don't worry, this area is not too big. We shouldn't be spending much more time in here, so I think it's okay if we save the recordings for the next video and finish up in this area next time. Maybe I'll have a nap on your bed, Ross. I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to close the door here for some privacy. And I'm going to leave it here, so thank you guys so very much for watching, and I hope that I will see you next time.